A long time ago, on a comics page far, far away. Greetings and welcome to May the Panel Be With You, the Star Wars comic book show brought to you by the Punch-Up Entertainment Network. I'm your humble host, Mike Ergoni, and joining me, as always, the teasel to my screamer, it's John Campbell.
Hello, everybody. Oh, boy. You know, these comics just get weirder.
I disagree. I think this is an appropriate level of weird for this book.
Well, for this book, agreed. I didn't say too weird, but weirder. This is some of the weirder stuff for sure.
This is some of the weirder stuff. This is some like Star Trek level weird in this issue.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And like trippy Gene Roddenberry on acid Star Trek in particular. This ain't 90s Trek. This is weirdo Trek.
Yeah. If you want some non-biological life forms, boy, is this the issue for you.
Oh boy. Here it is, Gergoni. Number 61 of Star Wars.
We are talking about the original Marvel Comics Group presents Star Wars. This is, of course, issue number 61. This issue came out in, oh Lord, maybe I should have the dates in front of me before I start these intros, huh?
July of 82, I believe?
July of 82, I believe, is correct.
Yeah.
We have a lot of the same creative team we had before. Enjoy them while they last. I'll say that much.
I do feel like every time we get a new creative team, we're like, oh, you know, maybe this will be... Oh, never mind. No.
Yeah, but we've got David Michelini on writing. We've got Walt Simonson helping with the writing and with pencils. Tom Palmer on inks. Glennis Ween as credited here, but eventually Oliver on colors. And Josh Rosen on letters with a certain Jim Shooter. What's his sobriquet in this one?
Father figure.
Father figure. Which in Star Wars, not a great thing.
Nope. He's like, oh, and they're like, yeah, Jim, you're our father figure, just like Darth Vader. Yeah, Shooter, I don't know what he had to do with this book, really. Hopefully
little to nothing. Let's get to this cover, though, because, whoa, TIE Fighters.
What a cover.
I really like this cover. This is dynamic. This is fun. We've got our rebel pilot, presumably Luke Skywalker, in the cockpit of a TIE fighter, with the reflection of another TIE fighter coming straight at him.
Right, and then we're getting the barrels of the front-mounted guns blasting away just off panel there.
This is a Walt Simonson cover, I believe, and I mean, the guy, he's pretty good at drawing things.
Of the control panel in this cockpit is greater than I've ever seen in a TIE fighter.
Yeah, don't question where the lower half of this pilot's body is.
No. This is definitely a expressionistic over realistic cover for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it is cool. I will say Simonson on this book has been a real breath of fresh air.
Totally. And this is a young, hungry Simonson who's looking for work, and boy, is he getting it.
We talk about both of these guys, Michelini and Simonson, go on to create some of the most iconic Marvel comics, and we're catching them pretty early in their careers here with this.
Totally. I mean, part of the fun of this book, right, has been it kind of being a weird capsule of Marvel history at this time.
Yeah, because it does seem to be a book where they're putting some of their, after the initial run of sort of, the old vets on it, they're putting a lot of their sort of new, fresh talent on this.
Mm-hmm. Because the book, it's still making money. We're still not quite at Return of the Jedi yet, so Star Wars is still the new hotness.
And we've talked about it. This was something they took with, like, I guess we'll take that science fiction film and shoot it in Tunisia right now. Sure. And then it ended up, like, keeping the company afloat for years.
Speaking of company, we're in good company as we get a matte painting, but not quite as...
I mean, we're at a medal ceremony. We know these well.
Yeah, as we get into the front of this issue with Screams in the Void.
Ooh, I will say this book has been getting spookier.
Well, this ain't exactly a spooky issue. There's some troubling stuff in here, but we'll get to that later. Meanwhile, we are on the planet Arbra, where we're having a, rebel medal ceremony with... Okay, my one issue with the crowd scene here. Did everyone have to wear their helmet?
Everyone's in there. Well, I will say, for Simonson's sake, yeah, right? That makes it easier.
Sure.
But also just, I think there's even more people here than there were at the Yavin ceremony.
Well, I mean, who knows how much of the Rebel fleet has reconsolidated here on Arbra, so we got to assume not everybody was on Yavin when that all went down.
That's true. I would say maybe amassing the entire Rebel fleet in one place is not great from a tactical standpoint, even if your planet is hidden.
No, it's fine, John, because we kept the fleet in the sun, so it's perfectly safe.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the genius plan to keep the fleet ships in the sun. But yes, we're on the planet Arbra. This is the Great Hall.
Which raises some questions for me, because remember Planet Arbra? Like, what its whole deal is that the indigenous life here are these tiny little psychic rat things.
What are they called? The
Hoojibs.
The Hoojibs, there it is.
With their main representative, Pliff.
Yeah, who could forget beloved Pliff? But yes, this is the great. But yeah, but apparently they've dubbed some part of this cave system the Great Hall.
I just wanted to point out that the tiny rat people who make this place their home probably did not build these giant pillars of fire and stairs sized for humans. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying, it does seem like the humans have come in and taken over.
A little bit.
Yeah. But this is the Rebel Alliance have gathered for a ritual of joy and of honest thanksgiving. Hey, it's the holiday season here in Star Wars.
Well, and the holiday here is to give Shira Bree a medal. Because, Lieutenant Shira Bree says in an unknown voice, it's Leia, but she says, please step forward. And we have a medal ceremony.
You know what I like? That she always wears the same dress to every medal ceremony.
Well, she's got her medal ceremony dress.
Which is just sort of a slightly more formal version of the dress she wore for the whole first movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. But this is because, as we know, she saved everybody in the last issue. Thanks, footnote, for indicating that.
So, back on Shaylee Vane, we had Shira Bree save her whole flight crew, including Rebel hero Luke Skywalker.
So not only is she being given the birding cluster.
Yes. The traditional advancement to the rank of captain, as well as awarded the birding cluster, which has got to be some kind of ceremonial medal, like Medal of Honor type thing.
Right. But yeah, she is now Captain Shira Bree.
And something kind of nagged at me in this. Again, the whole is Shira a secret bad guy has been naggling me for a while now, and
yes,
this issue sort of cements the she's probably fine. She saved Luke Skywalker.
By the way, she outranks Luke Skywalker. At least if we're going on the proper Navy, if he's a commander and she's a captain.
I think, don't know about that. He's flight commander, so I think this is more Air Force rules. I don't know though.
Pretty quickly, they're all generals, is what I remember about the original trilogy, right? Ever save the lives of Commander Skywalker? It's almost like they don't really care in this comic.
Look, it is the Rebel Alliance. They're more loosey goosey. They don't have strict.
No, I mean, I will say I am glomming on the Star Trek rank system, which is much more rigid.
Sure. But what's kind of bothering me here is okay, Shira's getting this big medal ceremony for saving everybody, but she is also the person who put all those people in danger by dragging them to Shaylee Vane.
Yeah, it does seem like this should just be a wash, right?
Yeah, just okay, good job for getting out of there. She doesn't necessarily need a promotion out of this, but
yeah, look, we're not going to punish you for doing that, but because you saved everybody, we're just going to call it good.
Yeah.
But
we have Leia saying, hey, you have my personal appreciation, and Shira, in, again, that kind of coy way she's been this whole time, is, Princess, the pleasure was mine.
boy, if you don't like the dynamic between them in past issues, you're going to hate this one just as much.
Her mouth curling into the hint of a self-assured smile, Shira Bree flies past the rows of assembled Star Warriors, fellow soldiers who catch that smile.
Still trying to make Star Warriors happen.
Stop making Star Warriors be a thing, Marvel. It's not going to happen.
No, it really isn't. And then I just like that they're like, you have all the assembled masses, and then up on a platform are heroes.
Yeah, they're just kind of watching.
Yeah. You know, with a few more like her, we'd have won this war.
Yeah, Lando's still rocking his white and orange. I love this look on Lando, not gonna lie.
Well, and especially because I do like the way Simonson draws him like, yeah, drink it in. All Calrissian, baby.
Mm-hmm. Luke is being like, yeah, I know what you mean. Hubba hubba.
Yeah. So much honor. Yeah, because Leia's like, Luke, maybe we could. He's like, sorry, I gotta get with Shira Bree.
Yeah, remember how we've been pretty conflicted about Leia's feelings about all of this?
Yeah.
Let's double down on all of that, because we have this moment here with Leia where she is like, hey, Luke, could we talk for a second? Luke ditches her. And so she goes and wanders off while everyone else is celebrating. She gets into her room and then she starts looking. She ponders her orb that is full of the image of Han Solo.
I miss my frozen boyfriend.
Let's see. She tenderly lifts the cherished hollow sphere, the warmth of her touch bringing the three-dimensional image into focus, an image both rakish and familiar.
Hey kids, remember your favorite character, Han Solo?
And Leia kind of whispering to herself, Han, oh Han, I wish you were here with me. I miss you and I need you.
But also...
but here's the thing. This page by itself sort of does address our issues with, like, remember how Leia said, I love you to Han Solo at the end of the last movie?
We've settled this, before we even get into the sibling review, we've settled this love triangle.
Yeah. But then we turn the page.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, then it's like, all right, well, because I was going to talk about, we've been feeling conflicted. Apparently, they're going to try to put that confliction into Leia, and not a good choice story-wise, I would say, but, you know.
Because still talking to herself, she says, you could help me understand why I'm so confused, why I feel so strange when Luke and Shira are together. I mean, I like Luke a lot. He's very special. He's a very special person. But it's you that I love, so I should be happy that Luke's found someone to care about. Shouldn't I?
I will say, I swear, we've been talking about, I would not be surprised if they were bombarded by letters from readers about this and have to address that. Because this is, of course, the time when people actually wrote in, but I would not be shocked at all if nerds of this era were writing into Marvel going like, what about Han?
It just reads to me... Han! It really reads to me like old Marvel romance comics. Like, it's got big Archie vibes, right?
It's very melodramatic, right? Oh, if only, and why do I feel the way I feel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too, is while these characters are young, it's this thing that I've been irked by in this comic, which is these characters are young, but they've been forced to mature because they're in war. So this idea that they're all sort of like, I'm a teen in love. It all feels very teenage. And you're just like, there's no fucking time for this.
Well, especially Leia, right? Like, Leia sort of typifies that forced to grow up as I've witnessed my world burn in front of my eyes.
Yeah, she's got the most, like, that hardened her a lot right there. And we see, you know, from, like, Obi-Wan, even as a kid, she was pretty, you know, hardcore to start with even. But, like, this Leia is born into the rebellion. In a way, she would be the most fortified of the bunch, right?
I mean, it's sort of her arc over the course of the Empire Strikes Back movie, right? Is that, like, when she is forced to actually slow down and be a human with Han for a second, there is that melting that can happen. But she starts off being like, I don't have time to be in an interpersonal relationship because I have a rebellion to lead.
And that's the thing. And that's why they are the romance of Star Wars, right? It's because he lets her be a human, if only in moments she can get away from that, you know? So, of course, she loves Han Solo.
Yeah.
And
But
not
anyway,
her brother. They don't know.
you know who always wanders in to make things more awkward? C-3PO.
You can always break up tension in Star Wars by having, oh dear, oh hello, oh no.
Why, I'm sorry, princess. I thought you were alone. My goodness, you are alone.
Yeah. Apparently, Leia's devotion to Han is so much so that she's carrying his blaster with her.
See, that's actually, if that's intentional, that's a good character beat for me.
I agree. I don't know if it's intentional is the thing, though. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
We've seen that blaster being drawn in the hands of quite a few other people at this point, so who knows?
Yeah. Well, and Han's blaster is pretty iconic. We'd know that anywhere.
Yeah. Her regal composure regained, the rebel leader walks briskly to a nearby briefing room, as behind her, the holographic image of Han Solo flickers stubbornly and fades.
I'll be over here.
Meanwhile, half a galaxy away.
Here we go. In the largest armada in Empire history, which, as we now know, isn't that long.
Yeah, no. As of the writing of this book, it's a little bit more question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah. Though within the lifetime of one Obi-Wan Kenobi that happened, so...
But who knows how long space people age.
That's true. And we're back to our new central villain, Admiral Geel.
Admiral Geel, the transport cage is ready for your inspection. As yes, we go back to this Superstar Destroyer, question mark? Probably.
I think, yeah.
Because Admiral Geel's aboard and he is talking to a Colonel Malka.
Excellent, Colonel. Because what I imagine Admiral Geel, because the way he's drawn, he's got the jowls, but he also says things like, that's bloody right.
Mm-hmm. Deck officer, might I have a word with you?
Yeah.
I kind of love this interaction that he has with this subordinate here.
I do too. It's just the what the guy's hat is insane.
Yeah, so he's gonna admonish this deck officer for wearing a hat that is yellow and black checkered pattern.
He specifically refers to as a party hat.
Save your partying for your off hours.
And he orders this deck officer to take 10 laps around the ship.
And then is like,
he's gonna dog it.
Naturally, he'll stop running as soon as he rounds the first corner, but I'll wager he wears his regulation cap in the future.
Admiral Geel kind of feels like a Disney villain, right? Like the way he's drawn, and he's just so hulking and
He's got big Radigan energy.
Oh yeah, big time Radigan energy.
So they're having a conversation. They're talking about something called the Screamer or the Teasel, and apparently they're one and the same thing. And that is what is being transported by this fleet.
Please, Colonel, I refer to you. I prefer that you use the correct terminology. It's not a screamer, it's a teasel.
I just love the idea of
because that's less silly.
Or to be more precise, the Teasel, and we get something out of a Doctor Strange comic.
This is when they introduced this. I'm like, what is going on? This is crazy. Yeah, we're in Jack Kirby country here.
Yeah. So we get to see the containment cage at the center of the Superstar Destroyer, and Admiral Geel kind of gives us all the exposition on this thing. They have found this life form that is like made of pure energy that can absorb communications and then retransmit them at the speed of thought to anywhere in the galaxy, making instantaneous communication possible.
It's the teaser is a freak of nature, an organic communicator able to take electronically supplied information input and transmit it at the speed of thought to any receptor in the galaxy.
I also love this idea about like this guy knows all this.
They figured it out. That's why they captured this thing.
No, but the guy he's telling already knows all this. But it's one of those things where it's like, as you're aware.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad writing, but
it's it's classic, just like,
once again, to reiterate what we all know, just to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Presumably, if this colonel he's talking to has been serving on the ship, he's been briefed.
Well, he already knows he knows enough to call it the Screamer, but he just admonished. So yeah, anyway. But the idea is once the great thing they have here to defeat the rebels once and for all is the ability to instantly communicate to any other part of the galaxy.
I love tactical minutia BS when it comes to military action adventure. It's just like, no, what's going to defeat the rebellion? It's not some super weapon. It's our ability to have logistics faster than them.
But what I love about this is that, yes, there's that mixed with the complete insanity of a living organic communicator.
Yeah, that looks like something that could be from the dark dimension. I guess we didn't describe it. For our non-YouTube listeners, this thing looks like a large flame made of blue and white light with concentric fractal patterns radiating out from the center.
Once again, I feel like if it was in a film, it would be going...
Yeah, absolutely. It would be making the sound the aliens from Arrival make.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. And I mean, just they're back and forth here. No wonder the Emperor sent an entire armada just transport one creature. Indeed, Malkov, with all the... Even more exposition for you, sir.
Well, because we also find out that this creature is like one of a kind. They've never found anything else like it.
The only known, what does he say? It's the only known member of its species in existence.
Right.
It is not.
And so they're going to protect this thing to the last man, and Admiral Gil is going to make sure this gets delivered to the Emperor.
Yeah.
I fully intend to keep it that way.
But Admiral Gil might face some trouble here because we're going to cut to a grotto hangar on Arbra.
Because as we know, over the last few issues, the rebels have been slowly putting together this plan to try to engage in this armada, not through direct force, but through subterfuge. They've gone to the weird space bazaar to get a bunch of TIE fighters that they collected from, what was that Weasley guy's name?
Remember that guy that landed.
That was 3 whole issues ago. We can't remember these things.
Look, the amount of random side characters this comic throws at us, I'm just saying.
Orion Ferret.
There it is.
I knew it.
Oh, that's
written down.
It is in here. They do say, good thing those TIE fighters we got from Ferret passed their test runs with flying colors.
Yeah. And remember, they used those TIE fighters to infiltrate a base a couple of issues ago, actually last issue, to get the coordinates of this armada that they plan on infiltrating.
And so they talk about, if reports about the Armada's cargo are accurate, there's a lot riding on this. So they know about the Screamer, the rebels.
This is the part that trips me up a little bit, because how on earth do they know about this thing? I guess the Armada is so big they can't...
Telling everybody,
let me tell you, come over here. Here's the thing about this. This is crazy now. I love to tell people about the Screamer.
I guess that's fair. Like, you can't have an organization that big without any leaks getting out.
I think that's the idea, yeah. I love this masked mechanic, which is one of those things where it's like, hey, if you're wearing a mask, should we all be wearing masks too? Or... You're fine.
Well, look, he's dealing with spaceship stuff that might vent into his face. Not everybody's doing that.
Okay, here's what trips me up. This is the tactical modification they've made to the TIE fighters. As he says here, what does he say here? Your guns have been altered to fire only a half dozen bursts at standard strength. After that, they release their entire energy stores in one shot with enough power to cut through even the strongest of shields.
So, these TIE fighters have been modified in 2 ways. One was you fire 6 shots, and then your last shot will be all your remaining power, but it will be like a super shot, like Star Fox.
Right. But then literally the way that would backfire will happen in just a few pages. Because now you're out of shots.
Yeah, but they will also modify these TIE fighters so that when engaged in Imperial forces, there's a transmitter on here that will let you know who your allies are.
Yes.
Which is also very important.
Key. Yeah, that's also key. Anyway, and he just good luck.
This is that part of a Top Gun movie where they show you exactly what's going to go wrong with the fighter planes.
Yeah. I just hope that they don't lock on to this specific heat signature. Yeah.
Surely the mechanism that releases the cockpit roof won't fail and kill someone instantly, right?
Anyway, and so Luke's like, all right, well, everything's good to go. So I guess we'll just start our mission. Oh, what's this?
Shira's like, Luke, can I talk with you a minute?
I'm a Katharine Hepburn character, see?
And Luke's going, sure. Is there something problem with the mission? She's like, it's not the mission, Luke.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, our Shira's going to take her shot. She just says that she has feelings for him, and she thinks he does as well, and then she smooches the heck out of Luke Skywalker.
And then we out.
A shocked look on Luke's face as she embraces him, gets a big old wet kiss, and then sometime later.
I just love that there's no there's no like you just get, and then what? He was just like, bye.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Has this Luke Skywalker ever been in a relationship before?
Oh, certainly not in a relationship. Absolutely not.
We know that like Leia's like kissed him on the cheek, and
just kissed him on the mouth at this point because Empire's happened.
Because Empire's happened, yeah. So he's gotten 2 kisses from his sister.
I think what you're trying to get to is, yes, I think Luke Skywalker is a virgin.
I guess my whole thing is Luke in any position to be comfortable with physical intimacy?
I don't think so. I would guess not.
I'm sure there's some canon story about how he had some sweetheart back on Tatooine who got killed by, I don't know, a fucking dewback or something.
I mean, it's possible that in the team, but it seemed like, I don't know, he seems pretty inexperienced and like, golly gee, I don't,
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, maybe don't rattle the guy who you're relying on as your flight commander just before the mission.
I do think that's kind of a bad idea. Maybe go do the mission and then you kiss him.
But maybe that's intentional? Question mark.
Well, maybe so. I mean, whether that's intentional in the writing, it's certainly a bad. Oh, because Shira might be evil, as you would say. Anyway, sometime later, unfiltered starlight shines through a small planetary system near the route of the Imperial Armada.
So, we've got a couple of TIE fighters here. Not traditional-looking TIE pilot armor here, but whatever.
I actually like the design of it, though.
Yeah, with like they're still white helmets, but they look more like flight masks than the usual stormtrooper armor.
Right, he kind of Simonson's kind of like merged the stormtrooper and the TIE fighter pilot armor.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
and this patrol group is flying around. They detect a crashed TIE fighter, and so they go in to investigate, only for it to be a trap as X-wings swoop in and blow them all up.
See, here's the problem. They don't have an Akbar on their team, all right? They don't have somebody to identify when something is a trap or not.
It's true. That is the rebel advantage. It's
a trap.
Akbar's got their back.
Akbar can smell a trap from miles away. Anyway, a rare thing we see in Star Wars, a TIE fighter pilot eject.
To be fair, most of the time, they do not have the wherewithal or time to actually get that done.
Or most of the time they're in space too, so you just be ejecting into a vacuum, right? I mean,
yeah. Depending on how well sealed your flight suit is, that might be a terrible idea. I'd rather
now,
explode.
Yeah. Now, get ready for something that Michelini seems really dead set on. Bloodthirsty murderer Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, okay. We get this interrogation scene. So the rebels grab the ejected TIE fighter pilot.
It really sucks for this guy that he happens to just parachute right to where they are.
I got a feeling they like tracked the trajectory. They saw where he was coming down.
But based on the drawing of this, it's like this poor son of a bitch. And then Luke, this is. Did you read when I read this? And I swear that I'm not just bringing this up because I always bring up a podcast. This felt very Bondian to me. This dialogue, or he says, "Hi. As you may have noticed, you're a prisoner, and unless you tell us the recognition codes for entrance into the Imperial Armada, you're also going to notice, this is where I thought it'd be, you're also going to notice a very large hole in your head." Like if Roger Moore said that, I would, but it's such a weird, Luke just whipping out that gun to the head and just like, I'm about to blow your brains out, buddy.
Yeah, Luke's not the kind of guy I imagine doing the like hard sell on an interrogation, right?
This is where you need Han Solo, or this should be Lando.
Or, alternatively, if you were trying to show, like, a complete journey as a Jedi, this would be a moment where Luke tries out a mind trick, right?
There you go. Because later we'll have him try to use the Force. No, instead he's like, I don't need to do that because I got a Wookiee with me.
I mean, look, Wookiees are pretty convincing.
I will say I do like that pretty much everyone we meet is like, oh fuck Chewbacca, like.
Because the pilot is just like, never. I was trained to withstand torture, and I'm not afraid to die.
But even this, like, once again, this all feels like Han Dala. He's like, no, what a pity.
Chewbacca.
Yeah, I do like just.
What do you think of the distorted, panicked look on the mask here?
Yeah, it's a little cartoony, is what I think of it.
It's a little cartoony, yeah. The literal shape of the eyes of the helmet here change into a panicked expression as Chewbacca grabs his head.
It's a comic book, but still, come on, we've got to have some semblance of reality in that. And I do like where he's like, oh, why didn't you say you had a Wookiee? I'll tell you anything you want.
He's trained to withstand torture and isn't afraid to die, but something that Wookiee can do is gonna push that over the line. Sure.
Yeah.
Look, the rebels might torture you, but a Wookiee will claim you.
Yeah. He's gonna eat me. Anyway,
feet up.
Yeah. Nom 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 nom. I mean, I do sort of like, once again, the idea that like Wookiees are like, those things are fucking animals, man.
Well, and that's
like
definitely the Imperial opinion for sure.
Yeah. It's like it's like they brought a fucking grizzly bear to this, They're not cool, man.
Anyway, back to the Armada. Yeah, they do it.
Oh yeah, no, just boom, there we go.
I mean, they show up, they're like confronted with the like friend or foe, what's the passcode, and they give it to them and it works.
Well, except for they do the classic thing of like, hey, wait a minute, you don't sound like the guy that normally flies that. And then the classic, I must be getting a cold.
Yeah, I've got the space cold.
Yeah, damn space parasites and such.
But I do love the interaction here. Is like, I think I'm catching a cold. My coolant unit's malfunctioning again. And the pilot who's checking was like, I know what you mean. Maintenance, right?
Yeah, Imperial made shit. Am I right?
Uh-huh.
Anyway. So yeah, like, they get through.
Yeah. And that's when we get introduced to Alf, is one of our pilots here who is given a name just in time to die. We have Captain Thorben, the Scotsman who's still with them. We've got Shira and we've got Luke.
Yeah. These, you do get the sense that these are, I love the idea of when they filmed the original movie, of course they just had the one cockpit and they would just cycle people through to do. And so that's what this does feel like, where he's like, all set, Commander, systems and go, sir. Just these like real quick, boom, 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 close-up lines,
Flying high, Ace.
Yeah, flying high. God.
That's
flying high.
Line.
See, yeah.
We're here to do two things. Punch Nazis and punch Nazis.
I was going to say, you know what? I was saying Katharine Hepburn. It's very much Amelia Earhart, Fearless Flyer, though, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there they go, casually. The bogus TIE fighters separate.
Each singling out a suitable, unsuspecting target, after which, as energy cannons are carefully locked on and deep breaths are taken, all that waits is the final command. And then the battle begins.
Bum, bum, bum.
So, yeah, they all open fire on carefully selected targets across the Armada.
I mean, we turn the page and they're facalming everything.
Yeah, there's a big facaum. Major Voss, we're under attack. This beardy guy is like, what? Who's firing at us? Imperial ships? Shoot at them!
I do love the way this Imperial guy is on his hands and knees like, oh no!
So, they identify TIE fighters, but they don't know which TIE fighters. There's so many TIE fighters around. This is a whole armada.
I mean, kind of poor design in TIE fighters that they can't have, like, identification codes or something on them.
But Luke gave them the identification codes. They have that.
But the idea that they're not coming up on, like, some kind of radar thing where they can see, this is whatever.
Right, but they just, like, can't identify who was the one who fired the shot.
Yeah.
Surrounded
by our own fleet.
Yeah. A classic Imperial officer here. An attack always warrants a counterattack, bosun. Now carry out your orders.
I mean, you know, what I was thinking is Vader would just destroy all the TIE fighters then.
Yeah. And at which point the deck officer here is just like, nice knowing you, Earl. Likewise.
I do love this one thing. This is Michelini's been doing this a lot. The like working stiffs of the Empire being like, oh god, here we go.
Man, we are so screwed.
I knew I should have joined the Rebel Alliance. Oh, shit. Yeah.
Look, you come for the health insurance, but boy, is it not worth it sometimes.
And this is what you get in an authoritarian dictatorship. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do love. Oh God, such a
What the bloody blazes is going on?
So yeah, now from the flagship, all we see is a Star Destroyer opening fire on TIE fighters. So obviously, chaos erupts across this armada.
What?
Honestly, this is a pretty good tactical plan.
I think this is very. I like the chaos of this. I mean, it's very much the sort of like rebels as the fly in the ointment, the little thing that's causing chaos amongst all the big ships.
What?
But just in time, Alf is exploded.
Well, yeah, somebody had to go.
Yeah.
No, Alf. What will the people of Melmac think?
He died like he lived, eating cats.
I'm going in, Luke. I just want one cutaway to an X-wing, and it's Alf.
So yeah, fire's erupting. Alf dies. On the next page, we have Admiral Geel actually like doing some good admiraling here, as he's just like, okay, chaos is erupting. How do we tramp this down? Cut in interference on all frequencies, make it so they can't tell each other apart, and so that's how he kind of like counteracts this.
Is Geel one of the better Imperial high officers we've seen? Because he also did the thing with the hat where he's like, where he's like, he'll just do one lap, but that'll teach him. It's like I think he's actually a somewhat decent military leader.
Competence is easily the scariest thing in the Empire, right? That's why when we run into someone like Thrawn, who is this hyper competent, like intelligent, tactical thinker, you're like, fuck, this guy isn't some Nepo hire that like knew a senator, and that's why they're commanding a starship.
Because obviously somebody like Tarkin is done in by his own, vanity and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys who are just like, well, I'm just here to do the thing,
Yeah,
it's true. So actually, I've come to like Admiral Geel as a villain.
Totally. So he uses the Teasel to like transmit this interference across all bandwidths, so that now the rebels can't tell each other apart because they're just in TIE fighters.
I do always love the like Imperial control officers and their crazy helmets.
Yeah, they're supposed to look like kind of like Stahlhelmy, like German World War I and World War II era helmets a little bit. But they've kind of got like a samurai flair to them as well.
They're almost like just the back of the Vader helmet without the mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so they fire up the Teasel.
Which obediently sends forth a psychic shriek, a powerful blanket of static that blocks all wavelengths save for the pre-selected warband.
Yeah. Oh no! Blast communications. No, Thorbin.
So yeah, Thorbin doesn't die here. He does get shot, and he has to retreat.
Yeah. No.
I'll be lucky to get away with me. He's a pirate now.
Heading towards Leprechaun. Getting away with me, Lucky Charms.
Because he's Scottish, so I'll be happy to get away alive, let alone reach the flagship. It's up to the others now.
It does feel like Claremont came in just to write Thorbin. Oh, do you guys need a dialect?
He doesn't go as heavy as like Banshee from X-Men, but yeah.
Oh, were you literally like, I don't even fucking know what he's saying anymore.
Or frickin' Gambit, yeah.
Oh no, Gambit. I long ago gave up trying to understand Gambit dialogue.
So now it's just Shira and Luke out there among the fleet, and they can't tell one from the other.
Oh God, what a nightmare! I mean, this is decent. Like, talk about World War II era, submarine movies or whatever kind of stuff, which I do. I mean, I like all this stuff.
Totally, fog of war, kind of like setting in, and like, how do we finish the mission if we can't tell friend from foe?
I mean, this is the kind of those are the kind of movies that were definitely a big influence on Lucas.
And for once, I actually kind of appreciate the inner monologue here from Luke. He's not just like rambling off information we already know. He's actually like kind of panicking here.
It's a good use of it to actually, for once, we need to actually follow what's in his head. And he's not either saying it out loud or thinking nonsense.
Right.
Yeah.
But Luke is still on mission. He knows that the enemy flagship is carrying the transport cage. He has to blow that up so that they can deprive the Empire of the Teasel.
Yep. If I've got one thing left, and so he uses his okay. These cannons, let's see, because he's going to be using his big, all the power to the weapons thing, right?
His super shot, yeah.
Yeah. Clearing his mind.
But we also have Admiral Geel here being like, hey, there's only 2 TIE fighters out there, blow them both up.
Yeah. But of course, he uses the Force.
Yeah. Clearing his mind, Luke calls upon the Force, that elemental energy that is a part of all things, and uses it to probe the oncoming ship, because there's a TIE fighter in his way as he's approaching, and he doesn't know if it's Shira or not.
To discover if it's friend or foe, and then he gets his answer, and blick.
So Luke opens fire on this other TIE fighter with the last of his like normal shots, blowing it up, and then he uses his super shot.
Shakrow!
There's this huge explosion on the bottom of the page as he blows up the transport cage holding the Teasel, and then we get this pa-ba-fa-woom.
I do really like this Star Destroyer going up.
Yeah, and I like the pop-ba up before the fa-woom because it implies this like pop, 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 whoosh, like series of small explosions leading into a larger one.
Which is also what it says in an explosive chain reaction that takes the unknowing Teasel. So they killed the Teasel, right? They had killed this living.
And this is where we like get away from the Star Trek of it all, right? Because like in Star Trek, you save that one like singular life form at all costs.
Well, the difference in Star Trek is they would get on the ship, Spock would end up mind melding with the thing, convince it to work against the Empire.
Yeah,
that would be the thing. Pain, Jim. Pain.
What's the big energy life form? V'ger,
because it was the Voyager satellite that became self-aware.
Yes.
Became V'ger, yes. There's also lest we forget Nomad, the supercomputer that also became self-aware. Nomad that Kirk causes to destroy itself by feeding it logical inconsistencies. Makes no sense. Doesn't compute.
I do love the joke from Lower Decks. Don't make me get you into a logic loop.
Yep. It's one of my favorite things when Kirk berates a computer to death.
It happens more often than you'd think.
He just sits there and goes, that doesn't make any sense. What? What? All right.
So yeah, Luke Skywalker kills this singular life form in order to safeguard
it had to
the
be
rebellion.
done, man. These are the choices you make in war. The only thing I like that. The only thing I wish is there was at least some acknowledgement that like this has to be made.
There's no even acknowledgement on the rebel side that this thing is actually a life form.
Well, and that's the other thing too that they kind of get away with is the vagary of they don't go into how much do the rebels know of what this thing is. They just know that the Empire has some kind of communication thing. So it's possible that they don't have all the information. The book kind of gives the rebels an out, which is fine.
Yeah. But the Super Star Destroyer that Geel is on isn't destroyed. It's just that chunk of it blows up.
Yeah. I do like we've sustained damage, everyone. And there's the slime liquor that caused it is a great line.
Slime liquor's pretty good.
Yeah.
Please, Malka, there's no need to get excited. Merely dispatch a squad of our own fighters. Have them chase the rebel down and bring me his head.
I do like the punch-in close-up of bring me his head.
Yeah, it's good.
And so they're launching everything they've got after this thing, which is Luke.
And Luke is running away. I love the sweat pouring down Luke's
but
face
then
on this next page.
Out the practical problem I mentioned earlier. It's like, oh, well, now I'm completely defenseless. That was the problem with it, right? He fired his 6 shots. He did the thing, but it's like, now I have to get out of here with no guns.
Right. But he, like Luke Skywalker, he does some quick flying. He gets in the way. He gets behind another Imperial ship so that they're firing on that.
I'm not worried about Luke, but everybody else was going to die no matter what. Luke was always going to get out of here. Not only does he have the Force, but he's the best pilot,
He's also got plot armor a mile thick.
Could use Lando on, although I don't know if Lando could fly a TIE fighter, but still, like, talk about a guy who would be crafty enough to maybe get out of there too without weapons.
Yeah. But Luke punches it and gets to hyperspace and gets away.
I always am just hearing that as I'm reading this. Anytime they go, I'm always just hearing in my head like, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And he flies back to Arbra, the
Yeah.
volcano planet, I guess, based on this smoking crater.
We know that the rebel base is underneath like a huge mountain. Maybe it is a volcano. I don't know.
Well, the fact that it's letting off some steam, though, makes me concerned.
Well, they've got that big glowy crystal at the center of it. Maybe that's what's steaming.
There you go. Anyway, so Luke flies back. We do find out. Yeah, we do find
He's expecting everyone to be cheering, and they're not.
Yeah, why? Yeah, just look at, hey man, why isn't everyone celebrating me?
He fully expects to be greeted by an air of well-earned celebration. We did it, guys! Now the Empire will no longer have smoke signals and shout.
I assume we're prepping another medal ceremony.
Yeah.
From one every day, apparently. But
and he's like, didn't you hear me? I said we got the screamer. And this deck officer is just like, Princess Leia would like to see you in the briefing room, sir.
And I do like the just like 3 people being like, oh yeah, great job, Master Luke.
I think.
Yeah. Did you commit a war crime up there by any chance?
You wouldn't happen to know if you, I don't know, killed a friendly? Because, yeah, we'll find out on this next page, the last page, that everyone's kind of dour.
Okay. Although, except for Thorbin's hairline is just that severe bald. Is rough.
Yeah, look, you need to either commit to full bald or just let the flight helmet do its work and slowly start to...
The idea that, you got to shave this off. You can't have that look, man. But, hey, Thorbin, I'm glad you made it back. Whereas he's like, I can't even talk to you, Luke.
And Leia's just like, hey, buddy, sit down. This is going to be rough.
It ain't good. Fire it up, Thorbin.
They find out that they had flight recorders, obviously, on these TIE fighters to get like tactical information.
Cameras, for future tactical study. Right, but what's that? And I just love just the totally oblivious look going like, yeah, and? Okay.
You want to watch me be awesome? Sure.
Yeah, check it out. Oh, you want me to do like a play-by-play Give me a telestrator in here so I can go, right there, I took out that TIE fighter,
So we get a close-up on the last TIE fighter that he had to shoot down. That he, remember, accessed the Force to like, is that Shira? Should I take this out? And the Force said, go for it, bud.
Yeah. And then Luke says, say, isn't that last fighter I tagged? The one near the flagship? Oh, we're going to watch it back in super slow motion? Why does that guy burn to a crisp?
And it turns out in that cockpit, it was in fact Captain Shira Bree.
No! Oh!
Yeah. So, turns out Luke killed a friendly. Oops.
I mean, I read can this stand? Can this be? Also, why is there anything left of her? Like, we saw that thing erupt into a fireball.
Sure. But they freeze it right before it explodes. Like, that's on the flight recorder. They freeze the image so that we see the pilot.
Right, but she already looks dead in the...
Well, yeah. There is, like, weirdly a bullet hole in her forehead, like, above the glass. I'm not quite sure what's up with that.
Yeah, I did also think that was strange.
But yeah, so... Unfortunately, the next issue is called Pariah, because Luke done made a war oopsie.
What? Yeah, I was with this issue in the battle, and then this happened, and I went, what?
Look, we'll talk about this way more next issue. The consequences of this action seem to be out of proportion to what occurs considering the tactical need of this mission, right? Like, we were stopping the Empire from having instant point-to-point communication that would totally screw over the Rebel Alliance in terms of like a level of like tactical and strategic capability.
Well, because this is going to be one of those
and
things.
Luke stopped that from happening.
Right, and so it does feel like the plot should be Luke's own guilt, but based on the thing being pariah, it seems to be that everybody's going to be on his ass about it.
And we'll get into that next issue, because
I'm not. Also, I want to get into the discussion of, as you point out, the Force lied to him.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. Okay.
Can Luke Skywalker trust the Force? This is going to be like a character shaking moment in the journey of Luke Skywalker.
The Force was crooked the whole time, man.
the Force was on the take.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. We've just received these bank statements of the Force. It seems they've been getting donations from Emperor Palpatine.
Palpatine was making donations to the Force Halloween ball every year in inordinate sums.
Yeah, they're going to get a lot of candy for this.
Well, definitely you're not going to want to miss that next week then. But in the meantime, if you want to hear more from us, of course, you can head over to our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/punchupent. That's PunchUpENT. There you get cool exclusive bonus content as well as help out all the shows on the Punch Up Entertainment Network.
Yeah, like the IP Squad or Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, Material Components, and so many others. All of which you can also find on our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/@PunchUpEntertainment. Another great way of supporting the show. Liking, subscribing, commenting below. All of those things help us out in ways that money could also do, but you can do them for free over on YouTube.
You can either give us money or just your time and attention.
We love all of those things.
We're starved for attention. Please watch us.
Yeah. While you're there on the YouTube comments below, let us know, was the cost of Luke's actions here justified? Because look, you lose one rebel pilot to friendly fire, but you stop the Empire from having instant communication.
I will say, this did feel like kind of a suicide mission. It's amazing that two of them made it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just, anyway. All right. And also, kind of the Empire's fault for jamming the signal to make it unknown who was friendly or not. So,
No plan survives first contact with the enemy, as they say.
Yep, indeed. But I think
that's going to do it.
Yeah,
yes,
go
indeed. Because, as always, I have been Mike Rigoni.
I'm John Campbell.
And remember, may the panel be with you.